Think about a lion lying in the grass under the African sun. All around it, that grass stretches for miles, endless, free, growing back the very next day, even after everything eats it. The lion is starving. It hasn't eaten in 4 days. Every gazelle nearby saw it coming and ran. And right beneath its paws, there's more food than it could ever need. But it can't touch it. If that lion spent the next month eating nothing but grass, it wouldn't just stay hungry. It would die, slowly, painfully, from the inside out. Most people assume it's just about taste, or about teeth built for tearing meat instead of grinding plants. That's part of it, but it's nowhere near the whole story. The real reason is buried inside the lion's own chemistry. A set of missing pieces its body simply stopped making millions of years ago. And by the end of this video, you'll realize you're carrying around a strangely similar gap, one that's been quietly shaping your life since before you were born. Let's start with the obvious question. Why can't a predator just eat what's right in front of it? Here's what's fascinating. It's not really about the grass itself. It's about what a predator's body is built to expect. Take a house cat, a tiny familiar predator sitting in millions of living rooms right now. In 1987, researchers led by Quinton R at the University of California, Davis uncovered something that shook the entire pet food industry. Cats that were fed diets low in a specific compound called taurine started going blind. Not from injury, not from infection. Their own bodies were breaking down, quietly, from a missing ingredient. Taurine is an amino acid. Most mammals can build it themselves, using other nutrients as raw material. Cats can't. Their bodies never evolved that ability. Without enough taurine, a cat's retina slowly deteriorates. Its heart muscle weakens. In severe cases, the heart itself starts to fail. And here's the twist. Taurine barely exists in plants. It's found almost exclusively in animal tissue. So a diet of pure vegetation isn't just unpleasant for a cat, it's a slow poisoning by omission. A body starving for a piece it was never built to make on its own. But that's only one gap. Cats, along with most true predators, are missing something else. Vitamin A. You and I can take a plant compound called beta-carotene, the same orange pigment in a carrot, and convert it into usable vitamin A inside our own bodies. Cats can't do that conversion at all. Their bodies need vitamin A already prepared, already assembled, the way it exists inside animal liver and organ tissue. A cat surrounded by carrots is a cat that's still vitamin A deficient, no matter how many it eats. So what killed a predator's ability to make these things itself? It's not that evolution broke something by accident. It's that evolution stopped paying for tools it no longer needed. Imagine a predator's ancestors millions of years ago, already living almost entirely on meat. Every single meal already came loaded with taurine, already loaded with usable vitamin A, already loaded with the exact nutrients their bodies needed, pre-made by whatever animal they just killed. In that environment, the genes responsible for manufacturing those nutrients from scratch became, in a very real sense, dead weight. Keeping a costly biological factory running when the raw product just walks up and gets eaten anyway is a waste of energy. So over time, mutation by mutation, generation by generation, those genes broke, and nothing fixed them because nothing needed to. Here's where it gets almost unbelievable. This isn't just a story about vitamins. It's baked into a predator's entire body, right down to the length of its gut. A cow's digestive tract can stretch over 20 times the length of its own body. Room after room of fermentation chambers, built to slowly break down tough plant fiber. A lion's intestine is barely 3 times its body length. Short, simple, built for speed. Meat doesn't need hours of slow fermentation. It needs to be broken down fast, absorbed fast, and moved through before it spoils inside the body. A predator's whole digestive system is a machine tuned for one kind of fuel, optimized so completely that it lost the capacity for anything else. But here's what's even stranger. It's not just the gut, it's the mouth itself. Take a look at your own saliva sometime. It's loaded with an enzyme called amylase, which starts breaking down starches and plant carbohydrates the moment food touches your tongue. Cats and dogs barely produce any amylase in their saliva at all. Their mouths aren't built to start digesting a slice of bread. They're built to grip, tear, and swallow. Chewing plant matter thoroughly enough to extract real nutrition takes flat molars, moved side to side, again and again. A predator's teeth are the opposite, sharp, blade-like, built for one motion only, shearing meat off bone in a single pass. Try to grind grass with teeth built like knives, and most of it slides right through, barely touched, offering almost nothing on the way out. So a predator facing a field of grass isn't just facing something that tastes bad. It's facing a fuel source. Its entire body, from teeth to gut to internal chemistry, has spent millions of years forgetting how to use. Which raises an obvious question. If losing these abilities was so dangerous, why would evolution ever let it happen? This is where it gets personal, because you've done almost exactly the same thing. Not with meat, with something else entirely, vitamin C. Right now, sitting in your body, there's a broken gene. Scientists call it GULO. Every other mammal on the list can use that gene to build their own vitamin C from scratch. Cows, dogs, cats, and nearly every mammal that isn't a primate or a guinea pig, yours doesn't work. It hasn't worked in millions of years. Somewhere around 60 million years ago, deep in the evolutionary line that eventually led to you, that gene broke. And just like a lion's ability to make taurine, nothing ever repaired it. Why? Because the early ancestors who carried that broken gene lived somewhere loaded with fruit. Vitamin C was already everywhere in their diet, every single day. A body that already has enough of something has no reason to keep paying the cost of manufacturing it. So the broken gene wasn't a disaster. It was invisible, harmless, as long as the environment kept providing. For millions of years, it did. Then came the 1700s. Sailors crammed onto ships for months at a time, eating nothing but dried meat and hardtack. No fruit, no vegetables. And an old, buried vulnerability resurfaced. Scurvy, bleeding gums, loosening teeth, wounds that refused to heal. Historians estimate scurvy killed more sailors during the Age of Sail than combat, storms, and shipwrecks combined. Not because their bodies were weak, because a single broken gene, harmless for millions of years, suddenly had nowhere left to hide. Sound familiar? It's the exact same story as a predator facing a field of grass. A body perfectly built for one specific world suddenly dropped into a different one, with a gap it can no longer cover on its own. So let's go back to that starving lion. Picture it again, lying in the grass, gazelle long gone, stomach empty. Every missing piece inside its body, the taurine it can't make, the vitamin A it can't convert, the short gut that can't process fiber, all of it exists for the exact same reason your broken vitamin C gene exists. Evolution doesn't build for a hypothetical future. It builds for right now, for whatever's actually working, generation after generation, and it discards, quietly and permanently, whatever stops being necessary. The lion's ancestors never needed to make their own taurine, so that ability disappeared. Your ancestors never needed to make their own vitamin C, so that ability disappeared too. Neither species chose this. Neither species even noticed it happening. But both are walking around today, carrying the exact same kind of invisible dependency, built into their cells millions of years before either of you were born. Here's what makes this even stranger. You survive your gap easily. An orange, a handful of strawberries, a glass of juice. Vitamin C is everywhere in a modern diet, so the broken gene barely matters. The lion isn't so lucky. Its gap only closes one way, meat, consistently, or the body starts failing, piece by piece, exactly like a scurvy-stricken sailor centuries ago. Which means the food you're free to ignore and the food a predator can never survive without are separated by nothing more than luck. Whatever happened to be abundant when a gene quietly broke millions of years in the past? So here's the real question underneath all of this. What if the deciding factor in what you can and can't survive on was never really about strength or intelligence or willpower? What if it was decided long before you existed by whichever nutrients happened to be lying around when a handful of ancient genes stopped working? The lion isn't weak for needing meat. You're not special for surviving without making your own vitamin C. You're both just living inside the terms of a deal neither of you signed, written millions of years ago by an environment that no longer exists, enforced permanently in a body that never asked for a say. Every meal you've ever eaten was shaped by a broken gene you inherited and never chose. And somewhere out there, right now, a lion is lying in an ocean of grass, surrounded by more food than it could ever finish, dying of hunger anyway. Not because it's stupid, not because it's stubborn, because millions of years ago, something inside it quietly decided it would never need to eat grass again. And it was right, until one day, it wasn't.